How are you all doing? I'm excited for another episode of Your To Die for Life coaching. I know some people said they'll be late. Some people said they are going to watch the recording, but I'll give everybody a little time to come in before we get started. Um, and I guess I could go ad lib here and ask you all how your week has been. Faith, how are you doing?
Well, I guess an occupational hazard of traveling all the time is getting sick. So I've been sick and working at the same time. But as far as this class goes, I've had some incredibly interesting discussions with people. And
Tell me, tell me.
so Lynn, who you know,
Yes.
said she and her husband were on a road trip, and this was coincidentally because she was telling me it happened before we started talking about this class. And she said that her husband said, the average lifespan, I've got like 10 years to live, like if you think of it that way. And so they started um deciding to make some changes, like he's going to dissolve his companies, and like they're, just making life altering changes to enjoy the last part of their life. And I thought, oh my God, that coincides. Then I have another friend who's young, like in her 30s, and I was shocked because I thought she had this life that she loved in Hollywood as a producer, um I said, if you had 6 months to live, would you keep, doing what you're doing? She said, absolutely not. And she said she wanted to do something completely different.
Wow.
Totally blown away. But this class has been amazing because I've been just so conscious of it, no matter what I'm doing.
That's great. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that. Gosh, Lynn could join. You can invite, even though we're in the middle of it. To me right now, I'm offering this for free because I I want to hear from you guys back how if it like I wrote the book. When you write a book, Faith, because you're in this little cocoon, and I want to
Yeah.
open the cocoon and go, hey, does this work for you guys too? So I'm even open to inviting people even midway here. If you want to invite, I'll send a note to Lynn because obviously I know her.
Okay.
And
Because
if you
she
want to
said she
invite
had
your
some kind
friends,
of meeting with you set up or something, or
maybe for an Instagram live or something.
yeah, something she said. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But
yeah, she might find it. I told her I loved it, and
thank you.
yeah, I just at first I didn't think this was for me because I've always lived my life like
Yes.
going to end soon. As I said on the first class, just because of the millions of people I have on the other side,
Yeah.
and it has been incredibly powerful. So
Oh, thank
yeah,
you.
I
Thank you.
really love it. Thank
Thank,
you so
thank you
much for
for
the
that.
invite.
Oh, thank you. And I'll put that out there and I'm ad-libbing as I go along. Um, if you're discussing this with other people, like Faith, if you just popped in, Faith was saying that she was sharing about this with some people, one of them who I know, and they were kind of resonating, exactly resonating, thinking about their lives like this. And so if you want to invite, we still have a bunch more episodes left. So if you feel you want to invite somebody, it's still free because this is interesting for me because I wrote the book and these ideas alone in my apartment. And I want to make sure that they do resonate and hear back from you. And this feedback it's a win-win here. That's why I'm offering it for free. So feel free to invite somebody. We still have a bunch more episodes left and they can catch up with the videos in the back end totally free.
Okay.
All right. So we have a bunch more people that have arrived since. And does anybody else, and I am going to ask you questions, but I'm curious just on this flow, again, ad-libbing here. How are you feeling about this? Have you discussed with other people? Because I don't have that question coming up ahead. I have other questions for you up ahead. Have you discussed this, that you've been thinking about death with other people? And I laugh nervously. Do you hear my little nervous laugh? Thinking about death, you know. But I'm 64, going to be a senior citizen officially in August, 65. So I'm thinking like this, and I'm just wondering has, what's, have you talked about this with other people? Does anybody want to, share? Because Faith said some interesting things to me. Megan, were you about to say something? Or,
Yeah. I mean, I think about it a lot. I think it's partly influenced by different like spiritual practices.
yeah.
And like so I have it, but I didn't know how open this was. So I will start talking about this
Yeah,
group more to
do.
others
Do.
and let them know that there's an open door. But like I've had a living will for a couple decades. My closest friends and I have talked about it for that long as well. We have agreements amongst ourselves, like, okay, if I die, you come over and get my journals out of the house before anybody else gets to them. We talk about these things, and like I'm traveling and pretty nomadic right now. So before I leave, it's like, who has a copy of that? Do people know where the shit is that they would need to take care of if something were to happen? And I think about that a lot too. Like when I get ready for a big trip, it's like, okay, do I have things in order? Like if something were to happen, hopefully I'm not leaving too much of a headache
Right.
for, anyone because I think most of us at this point in our lives have probably been on that side of the coin where a friend passes and it's like, on top of the sadness and the trauma, it's sometimes challenging to have to figure out how to tie
Yeah.
up loose threads.
By the way, that reminds me, I have on my Year to Die for Life site a end of life planner exactly for that.
I love that.
I call it Over My Dead Body. And it's an end of life planner that you fill out with all of those things that Megan was talking about. It's free. So you can grab it over there. When I send the next newsletter email, whatever this is, I'll include the link to that. And it's kind of like it also makes it very real when you fill that stuff out. So thank you for sharing that, Megan.
Yeah.
Does
Yeah,
anybody
and I saw
oh,
that planner, by the way. It's great. I
you
love
did?
it,
Oh,
what you
good.
created. Yeah.
I mean, it's funny, but it's serious, it's serious business. Danica, do you want to share anything about what this has been like for you?
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, it's been great. It's interesting. I've really been thinking about a lot of these things and these themes already. So it's kind of like this was meant to be. I had already been thinking about future me and what
Mm,
what she would want. And I was kind of using that as a mindset hack to be
yes.
like today to be like, okay, well, if I make these choices today, what does that mean for future me? And if I'm
Mm,
spending this money here or I'm doing this thing, like I'm taking it away from my future me. So I've really been thinking about this. It was really interesting when I got this invite and I've heard the way you're talking about all this death mortality stuff. I was like, that's kind of where I'm at right now. So yeah, it's all totally resonated with me. I've talked to my mom about this. She thinks it's
mm.
fantastic. Because I'm not a spring chicken anymore either. I mean, I'm in my 40s now, and I've been through a lot of stuff, and I'm just kind of now I want to live my life, and I want to think about what I'm leaving for my boys. And
Yes.
yeah, so I really love this topic. I really love that I've already kind of been thinking about it, and now you're helping bring it together, and other people are sharing their ideas, and it is kind of a scary thing, but I feel that motivation from it that like you're right, it could be like tomorrow could be it. So what
Yeah.
do I want to leave behind, right?
Yeah.
It's really profound.
And then back to the future me thing, I
Yes.
posted something in our like school area, but there's research, and I could get more into the
Yes, I
research.
saw that, and that's why I was like, it's funny because I've already been thinking about these
Yeah.
things.
The more you personify future you, the more likely you are to make changes,
Exactly.
which is
Yeah.
so interesting. A lot of what I'm
Yeah.
hearing is backed by research. I might not get into the weeds of the research
Yeah.
right now here.
And I haven't really thought about it like that until recently. And so it's interesting that you are having the same thoughts and it's kind of come
Yes.
together at the same time when I've never really thought about it like this until
Ah,
recently. So I'm loving it though. I love
oh,
it. It's
that's
great.
great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have
Anybody?
to
Yeah.
say something really
Yes. Faith,
quickly.
go ahead.
44 is a spring chicken to me.
Faith, I wanted to say that. I'm a winter chicken. I think I'm a winter chicken now. I'm no longer spring. I'm
I'm I'm
definitely
I'm
autumn.
71 and it's like I remember when I thought 30 was like ancient history,
I
but I'm just
know.
telling you 44 is not a spring chicken.
I
I
totally
know.
agree.
It's true. I
That was
totally relate.
funny.
I know. But I also remember when I turned 40, I was like, oh no,
I
well,
know.
you know. Uh, Anybody else want to just say in general how they're feeling? I'm ad-libbing this. This wasn't going to be part of the session, but Faith came, we were talking. And does anybody else want to say, have they shared this with anybody else? Has it just been kind of percolating in the back of your mind and kind of slightly change? Are how do you feel about talking about death weekly? Anybody else want to chime in? If not, I'm throwing this at you out of nowhere. But okay, we can continue. The last thing I want to do is it's already a very unusual topic, and I don't want to make anybody uncomfortable. So I'm just going to keep moving forward. But if you do want to talk, just wave your hands frantically at me and I'll notice you. Okay. So, hey everybody, welcome, and we're back. Thanks for joining the Stop Dreaming, Start Doing SmackDown group coaching. And I'm going to keep trying to come up with new ways to describe what we're doing here. New ways that don't have the word death or dying in them. So you understand the real reason why I want to motivate you to think about your mortality. Your real job here on this planet, as I've spoken about, is to squeeze all the good stuff out of your life. Like when you're trying to get that last bit of toothpaste out of the tube, but it's your potential and the tube is your existence. Okay, maybe this metaphor might not be the best, but I'm here with some squeezing techniques. So last week, I gave you 16 life audit questions to ponder. They were in the back end. And I'm going to help you. The life audit questions are there to help you to see where the crap and clutter is and to be better time managers of your life. And I definitely believe that mortality awareness is a very persuasive time management motivator, because it works like a nagging little voice saying, hey, remember me? Death? Yeah, I'm an actual thing. And you don't have all the time in the world, pal. So it wakes you up to be more real about what you're doing with your time. So the good news is by now you've done a few weeks of mortality awareness coaching with me. So your brain's kind of been marinating in thoughts about how temporary your life is. So at this point, you're probably ready and maybe even excited to start cutting out the crap and zeroing in on the stuff that actually matters. So with this in mind, what we're going to do is we're going to review some of those life audit questions. And I have them coming up, and I thought we could talk about them a little bit together. So I put them on two different slides, and you'll see the first set of like eight questions, I think it is. And I want to see what you've thought when you looked at them. And if you haven't looked at them yet, we can talk about them together now. And I have my little timer. Oh, let me get my little timer. Here's my little timer. And I'm not going to be really strict with it, but I just want to make sure that, everybody has a chance to speak. So these were some of the questions. These are the first 8 questions, or 9. I don't know how I separated them onto the slides. So in looking at your life and thinking about where does the time go? What activities waste your time the most? Oh, you know what? I'm not going to read them out loud because that would take too long. Just go in. And I want, actually, at this point, I'm going to make everybody here answer at least one question. And you have a second slide here coming up. If you don't see anything you want to answer here, but there's a lot of goodies here. And then I'm going to call your name and I'm going to make you answer one of them and thinking about the crap and clutter in your life. Faith, I'm going to have you go first. If you had a chance to look at this, you can look at your notes. If you didn't, I'm going to ask you right now to pick one on this first slide and talk about what it brings up for you.
Yeah, I did look over it and it brought up a lot of stuff, and thinking about the core values and all also. I realized that, my core values are like having fun and independence and self-growth. But health is also incredibly important because I'm sick all the time, it seems like,
Ah,
just traveling. But financial independence was one.
mm,
And when I saw that it was a core value, and yet I do nothing in that category to, all the other ones I'm okay with. So when I was looking over this, I waste a lot of t time watching, TV and just to brain numb because I'm exhausted at the end of the day. And so I think that is my biggest time waste.
and watching TV can get in the way of health because you could be doing
Well,
something healthy.
getting away, I mean, the financial independence thing is you can't have health without financial independence,
Yes.
unfortunately, because it's too expensive to be healthy. You can't have independence or fun or, all the other things without the financial independence. So it's just a matter of putting off and not prioritizing
Right.
planning or, um, making it a priority that
Yeah. Yeah.
it is, I think it is, and yet I'm not doing anything to make it a priority. And then um, just doom scrolling, watching the news. So because of this class, I have actually stopped doing that for the last week or so, and it's making a huge difference.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
great. So have you been, I want to know, and it's okay if you haven't, again, I'm just here, just talking here. Have you used the I am and so I do statements to help you, or you, okay, so that's interesting for me. By the way, that's feedback, and I appreciate you being honest. So even just thinking about core values works as something for you. That's what
Mhm.
I'm kind of intuiting here. So just knowing I value my health. So you know what you're doing, Faith, without even realizing probably it is you're doing the I am, so I do statements without you knowing it because you're going,
Yeah.
I value health. And so why am I? Or I value being financially independent. So why am I? So you're kind of subconsciously doing I am, so I do
Absolutely.
statements.
Mhm.
Um, so then what we have to do is discuss what we want to do in in place or how to pull you away more, which you're naturally doing, but even to find time to schedule your the I am and so I do statements to schedule them in your Google Calendar. Or maybe you work out while, you know, listening to an audio book or something that's entertaining that you want to do. So you add a little, fun. And since you value fun, uh, making things fun that you can do or scheduling them better.
Yeah,
Is
I don't have a problem with scheduling fun things, but I do have a problem wasting time. And so that's what I've been super conscious of because of this class, this
okay.
last couple of weeks, and thinking I've got to prioritize the things that are actually important to me and that are going to make a difference in my life.
Okay. Well, I have a bunch of tools coming up specifically.
Great.
So I just want you to know, and everybody, I have a bunch of tools here coming up, but I'm just trying to like poke around and see what comes up. All right. Uh, Yasmin, hi, welcome. So I don't know if you had a chance to look at the life audit questions,
I
but what I'll
did.
do is I'll kind of go back and forth. Was there one here or two or just a general?
Well, I did go through them. In general, I realized, well, I don't know if I realized it or got it's always been in the back of my head. Um, but I know that I haven't been living all of my most of my core values, except for authenticity, humanity.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, the things that I really care about, like connection, well, I have the curiosity part, but and then growth was one of them. But like creativity, I haven't been able to do much of that. Play, some of those things, I realized I wasn't really living any of those things. I mean, except for the some of the identity things. So, and I know it has to do with a lot of it's just like my life has just been one thing on top of another that just keeps tumbling, tumbling, tumbling. And every time I try to start a new project, something just sideswipes me again. So I I feel like I have to get that. Also, the same thing with faith, the independence, financial independence, and also be able to get to a place that I'm stronger and more grounded and kind of find my grit again.
Mm.
So I think that that's
By the way, that's a core value. That can be a core value, grit.
mm,
Because, and I want to say something, this is why I don't want to like force my 7 core values on you. If you said grit right now, that's like a quirkier word that resonates with you. So you might want to own that.
mm,
Like grit for you might be one of your core values that you can use to create. And I guess what's happening for why it works is it creates cognitive dissonance. You value grit. So
mhm,
it will motivate you more because if you realize you're not living in alignment with grit, that
mhm,
might motivate you to do more of your priorities because you value
mhm,
grit.
mhm.
So, anyway,
That's a tricky one for me because I feel like initially for the first half of my life, I was very gritty.
right, right.
And then it's like every time I try to stick to something and something would just throw it off, I think, okay, I kind of have to learn to be flexible and roll with the punches. And so I
Yeah.
don't know if the grit part is just me getting back up, if that's just the grit part, or if it's like staying with a specific thing. But I think I'm at a place now that almost everything has gone scorched earth in my life,
Yeah.
almost. So I feel like now is the time that I can begin and not really have much else to lose. Knock on wood, as long as my health is okay, then I
Well,
have.
I want to say something to you.
Yeah.
And that is that if grit was part of who you were earlier, it's still part of you. And I don't want you to think that that was scorched earth gone now, you know. And I'm going to tell you something personally to make this more like a group coaching is that I almost didn't want to do this book because my agent didn't want me to write about death. And then
Mm,
I was sitting there thinking, wait a minute, my agent didn't want me to do how to, a different agent didn't want me to do how to be happy, damn it. And I left her
mm,
and found another agent. And I'm like, and then I thought the thought, and I want you to hear this. Oh, I used to be feisty. When I was younger, I used to be feisty. I guess I'm not feisty anymore. Okay, so I'm reminded of you
mm,
thinking that way about grit. And then I thought to myself, I'm just going to take you through my mindset. And I'd like you to maybe journal about it, even as like, wait a minute. Feisty is who I am. I am feisty. That is who I am. That's the truest me. And
mhm,
then I thought, fuck it. And then because now I'm feisty, I thought with a curse word, you know.
mhm.
I thought, fuck it. And I'm going to say, fuck it. And I'm going to let her go. And I'm going to find another agent because feisty is who I am.
Mhm,
And grit is who you are. And
mhm,
now, even more than ever, I'm going to kind of get pushy because I'm feisty and ask you to double down on grit as your core value. And that's when I met you, because I
mhm,
met you like, God knows, like now, back when I published Prince Harming, like it was like 14 years ago or something.
mhm.
You had a lot of grit. I see you. I want you to know, I see you as someone with grit.
Thank
That's
you.
who you are. You
Thank
care about the world and sticking up for people, and you're strong, and that is who you are. So I want you to re-own that. Okay,
thank you.
that's a must. Okay,
Yeah, that helps.
good. All right. Um, let me go through all of you. Debbie, uh, and I'm sorry to hear about your son. I really, truly, truly am.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a bit of a struggle lately. So what I've learned really lately is, and I'm really coming to terms with this. I'm no spring chicken either. I'm turning 50 in a month.
Oh,
But I am, so that's been like on my mind I'm also recently divorced, so I'm on my own for the very first time in my entire life. I've like never been single, and got married right after college, and um, should have never gotten married when I did, and to the person I did. But I am now a recovering people pleaser, I like to say. Um, I never knew who I was, really. I just was who I was told that I was through my whole life, and never was able to trust myself fully.
Mm.
I trusted what other people told, my parents told me, what my friends told me, and I did what they told me, and I was never truly happy. So I've been on this path of like trying to find out who I am and what makes me happy. And leaving my marriage was one of the hardest things I did because I'm so used to making everybody happy and doing and doing and doing and doing for everybody else that I
Yeah.
was losing myself. And at least I knew I was self-aware enough to know that. But I also knew that by leaving, I would make everybody unhappy, which
Mm.
would then make me unhappy. And
Mm.
then I was like, what's the point? I'll just stay and make everybody happy and I can suffer my life, you know? But I left. And what I thought really did happen, everybody was unhappy. People were mad at me. My oldest son, who's an adult, he's 23, stopped talking to me. Like it was a whole thing. And it's been very hard for me.
Mm.
He's now speaking to me again and apologized and all of that. But
Mm.
um, it's been a really hard journey. So I think for me, like when I look at your list here, um, yes, parts of my life really feel like obligations and things I have to do. And I've given
Mm.
up so much of myself, but I realized I spent literally half of my entire life living
Mm.
for other people.
Mm.
And I'm like halfway now. Like I
Mm.
want to start living for me. So I work from home. I have my own business, and ever since I'm the one that moved out of the house, so I'm in my own place now, and I've never lived on my own, and so this is all very new. It's like everything is new. But what I learned was I don't have the same routine I had for 27 years. You know, I'm kind of like I've found myself pacing and like, what do I do now? What do I do now? What am I supposed to, who am I supposed to help now? Whose laundry am I supposed to fold? It's like
Mm.
it can make you a little bit crazy. But so what I started doing, and I just decided one day I have to just do this,
Mm.
is sometimes rather than stay home to work, I'll take my son to school, my youngest son to school, and then I go somewhere else. I'll sit in the corner of a coffee shop with
Yeah.
my computer or my laptop and I mean my iPad, and I do my work there so that I get my work done. Because if I come home, I'll start watching TV or, doing doing other things, you know. So I'm trying now to make those changes. So I'm noticing I want to have a routine at a certain time. If I've worked like for this amount of time, I'll get up and I'll go for a walk in the neighborhood, or I'll get up and I'll, you
Yeah.
know, meet a friend for lunch or something, just to have a break for my own
Mm.
self-care and my own time that I know is still productive in a way that it's helping me and my well-being. It's not just time wasted scrolling on Instagram. I mean, my one of my most recent posts on Instagram is that I'm taking a mindful pause
Mm.
because it sucks too much of my time
Uh-huh.
and I don't care. And then, like by the time you look up, it's like, oh my God, like an hour went by and I've been looking
Yeah.
at everybody else's life and like,
Mm.
what have I done? If I had taken that hour and put it into a project, I could have a new project, you know? So I did that over Christmas break. And I'm Jewish, so I don't celebrate Christmas. So I was like, this is
Uh-huh.
a perfect opportunity. Nobody's going to bother me. And I sat and I was alone and I decided I'm just going to see what comes out of me here and create a product. And I did. And I would not allow myself to do pretty much anything else. I would set these
Yes.
these things for my like I'm going to work for this amount of time until I get
Fantastic.
10 more of these things done before I check my phone or before I do anything. And you know what? I can't even believe I'm so proud of myself. Like I literally came out with a kick-ass product
Love
that
it.
was just manufactured and it's on its way here. And it's my best work that I've
Oh
ever
my
done,
God.
like ever.
Will you
I'll
do
share it
me a
with you
favor?
next time. I have the sample prototype, but it's in the other room.
Share
Um,
it also in the school area because
oh
that's
yeah,
part
I'll
of
share it with
Brave
you.
Women.
I'll
And
share
by
it
the
with you.
yeah,
Can I post a video?
yeah, yeah.
The woman that manufactured it for me sent me a video before she sent me the sample, and it's such a cool video and it shows you the whole thing.
Share
But
that.
so the
Yeah.
product is, so I'm a mindfulness educator, but I'm an artist. So I teach mindfulness through my art. And I was thinking about my own life and what's important to me, but I love drawing, you know?
Mm.
And so I started drawing plants that were meaningful to me. And I like the meanings of things and what they symbolize. So I came up with a product. It's called Grow with the Flow.
Uh-huh. Love.
And they're mindful affirmations that basically help you bloom. So
Oh,
they're
love that.
so each card is a different plant from aloe to zinnia, and each one has inside the box there's an insert that tells you the symbolism of each plant, and then each card has the illustration that I drew of the plant and an affirmation that for yourself that
Yeah.
goes with it.
It's beautiful.
And I'm telling you, like,
Love
I mean,
it.
I hate to be so braggy and whatever.
Oh, please
Karen, what's
do.
the word that you used to
Awesome.
say that's like, what's the word you called it when you brag on yourself? I forget. It was so
I don't
clever.
remember. I
Oh
did.
gosh.
New
I'll think
Year,
of it.
when
I'll
you're
think of
New
it because
Year, I forgot. But I
it's
want
so,
to say a couple things that are coming up for me all at once. Like, boop, 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 boop.
yeah.
First of all, okay. Your brand is okay. I'm going to give you a bunch of things. First of all, next week's core value is authentic. So I'm really excited for everybody to use that. But Debbie, I'm definitely excited for you to grab that one. But the other thing is, it occurred to me while you're talking about being a people pleaser, which by the way, I totally relate to that. So I want you to know that. But that your business is called Mindful Nice. And that nice is an important core value. So, as a core value person, I was looking at that word nice. So, that is your core value. But nice, any core value taken to extreme can be bad, quite
Yeah.
frankly. Not just nice, even like brave, like you can become like an idiot at bravery or like anything, it's like, so you have to do it like in just the right thing. But so it's like to understand we're nice. And it just showed me how you prioritize nice. And that's like the evil side of nice can become people pleaser. So I was thinking of telling you that I want your core value to be mindful, authentic, or mindful, brave. Like
Yeah.
take that because I know you also have the core value of mindful.
Yeah.
So if you kind of merge them, so then that thought occurred to me. And that's what I wanted to blurt at you. Oh, and also when you leave someone I know because I work from home, I send myself out to cafes.
Yeah.
Um, First of all, it forces me to kind of get dressed because sometimes I'm like
Yeah.
this and like something where, and I get dressed up. And in fact, I get so dressed up that the place that I go to most asked me the other day if I'm in fashion, which would make my partner Howard and my son laugh because I'm usually like in sweats, but I get dressed up, and it's a pattern interrupt. So that also helps you. And also the fact that you put, and I'm talking longer with you because I think this helps everybody. I think everybody could relate to what you're saying. Helped you to succeed also was putting like it must happen between this time and this time makes you suddenly put a little fire under your tush and get it freaking done. Whereas if you're just like, oh, I'm going to like even with me with write a book. Oh yes, I will write a book. No, I was like, I need to write between these hours and I need to finish this chapter. And then it also gets you away from it has to be perfect. And then you just like, I have to get this done and then I can fix it later. And sometimes done is better than perfect because you can always go back and make it perfect. So that's what's popping up for me for you. That's
Yeah, and I mean, I had to do that for myself because crawling under my covers of my nice warm bed was so much easier. But it
yeah,
wasn't getting anywhere. And I know that I have goals for myself. I have things, but it was so easy when I was married to just be like, it's just a hobby. I don't really need this. I was comfortable. My husband owned his own business. Like I didn't have to work. I raised my children and that was my work. And that took over my life. And so now my kids are older-ish and I'm still there for them 100%, but I also am like I need to live my life and sometimes and that's not selfish, that is self-care
it
and
is.
I need to remember that and every day I have it on my refrigerator. I
Oh,
will not
I got
feel
another one. I got
guilty.
another
I
one
will
for you.
not feel guilty about that,
Okay. Good, good. And I got another one for you. And then I'm going to move on. But I
Yeah.
love everything you're saying, and I'm sure everybody resonates. Because I'm psychological and I'm looking that I know your core value is nice.
Mhm.
I'm going to have you do one mindful, nice to myself.
Yes. I love that. That's going to be my next art, and I'll tag you.
Okay.
I'm going to do
I'm
it. I
very
love
proud
that.
of you. I'm very
Thank
proud
you
of
so much. Thank you, everybody. I am going to have to go to pick up my son, but thank you for
you.
all of this.
Sure.
It's been amazing for me, really,
Oh,
truly.
great.
Thank
Okay. I
you.
hope your son does better and better.
Me too. Thank you so much.
Sure. Okay. So, next, Deborah, welcome. And we're going through the life audit questions and core values and what's coming up for you and how you're feeling about everything, but particularly the life audit to figuring out where the heck does time go, life go? So, did you have a chance to look
I,
at them?
yeah, I'm looking at them right now, and the ones
There's
that
two
choose
slides. Yeah.
that literally speak to me from the past 2 weeks
Uh-huh.
are what activities waste your time the most, and what tasks can you delegate or eliminate? Because I, for the first time in my entire career, have hired a VA team.
Oh,
Talk about stepping out of your comfort zone.
yes.
So it has been a massive learning curve, and I realized so many times I'm like, oh, I'll just do it myself, right? Like
Uh-huh.
I'm having a hard time delegating, and yet I'm more productive than I've ever been.
Yes.
Um, it's a learning curve. I've got to allow that learning curve. I think the Aries in me is just like, I just want to do it perfect, like right out of the gate. And I'm like, no, Deborah, there's a learning curve here. And it's in the beginning, it's a lot of work because I have to curate, photos and Instagram templates and all my writings and, so but I'm really proud of myself because I was like, maybe I don't need a VA. And I'm like, this is what has been holding you back for so long because I've gotten so into doing the VA work. Literally 80% of my day is VA work.
Mm.
Sometimes mostly 100%. And I'm not getting my writing done. So, I really feel like this is the universe, something pushing me way out of my comfort zone and really forcing me to really own up to the fact that I need help and
Mm.
that if I really want to get to the place that I need to get to, I'm right where you are, Karen. I'm older. And I'm really looking at the rest of my life and
Uh-huh.
I'm really, really mindful every single day that time is so incredibly precious. And now I have this gift to
Mm.
get my time back and to get help. And it's been really challenging and
So what
amazing.
core value do you think would like kind of uh make you feel cognitive dissonance if you didn't? I am a great delegator, or I am the CEO. Like it doesn't have to be an actual, like the way I pointed out to Yasmin, that grit might be good for her, or is making up funnier ones for Debbie to use that would maybe resonate with her. Is it like seeing yourself also as like, I am the boss of my life, or I am the CEO of my life, or I am a good delegator, or I am, it might have to be a couple words in a row, like I am capable of asking for help, or I am a good delegator. I think it's delegate. And by the way, that comes up. I have that coming up. I'm going to share the Eisenhower matrix, and they talk about delegator. It's in this slideshow that you're going to see. I'm going to tell you to be a good delegator coming up in the slides. But is there
You know
core
what I
value popping? Yeah.
What I love that you said is, and what comes up for me is being the CEO of my life.
Okay.
And my big Achilles heel for the past, I would say 5 years running this business is I'm playing small. And this is an opportunity to me to stop playing small and to
Yes.
start really playing bigger. And
Yeah.
it's scary. And I have to do it. I'm in a place in my life and in all areas of my life where I am being forced to step up and play bigger.
Yes.
And I think that's part of it. Like playing small, it's very easy to spend your whole day doing VA tasks, right?
Oh, yeah.
And not working your zone of genius and not really stepping out and showing up and being more visible.
Yeah.
So I think the interesting thing is it's like the tasks is the thing that I'm dealing with right now. But as you said that, thank you so much. I think it's something much deeper. I think it's something much deeper.
Okay, we'll play around with that. And
Yeah.
and then we'll talk about it next week. And I have some more slides coming up that might resonate with you, because I'm not just here to do the group coaching. I'm also here to share the new insights. So they're in the slideshow coming up next. Next, who has not gone yet? Oh, Elizabeth, and then Chris, and then Bonnie. Elizabeth, are you here still? Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I was just looking for a pen because I was gonna write down what you said. Except that now I don't need to because
Oh,
I'm talking.
you don't need to, because you're going to get the video.
Yeah. No, of like what to talk about as far as my part of it, because
Oh,
I've also been thinking like that's been a challenge of mine. Um, let's see, because I'm sure, okay, because I've also been playing small a lot, like in my business and even just my life in general, like I've how was it a few years ago I realized, well, maybe many now, like I'm in the same age range as the rest of you. But like um like I was like, I need to find someone, blah blah blah. And then I didn't buy a house and all of that stuff that I was telling you last time of like, I have all this stuff, so I have no connections. But it's like, well, I'm I've noticed that I'm a lot more, or I have been, I like to say that I'm not now, but I have been a lot more resistant. What's it called? Resistant to risk averse. That's the word.
yeah, yeah.
I've been very risk averse in my life of like, not wanting to pick the wrong guy and get stuck, right? Because I'm Catholic, and especially like you're not supposed to get divorced once you pick the right person, or you know what I mean? Like knowing different things and like, oh my gosh, well, when I buy the house, am I gonna be able to pay for it all? Like things like that. Like I didn't think about it. And then like the last few years, like, oh, I'm just not that into risk. And so yeah, right? Like
So I
playing
would pick
small.
a core value that's the opposite of that. I mean, the one that pops up is brave, or confident.
Yeah.
I don't know what gets in the way, but I think
Yeah.
you need to be braver, or self-confident,
Yeah. Because I
and
can be
bold.
that in situations that don't feel like I'm getting that I'm good at talk like this. Like I used to never talk like that. Like when I worked at Disneyland, I could talk to anyone. I talked to all the
Ah,
amazing, gorgeous stars and Rob Lowe and
ah.
Robin Williams, and I talked to all of them. I mean, I told a joke to Nicolas Cage and he laughed. I was like, "Yay!"
Okay,
But like,
I want
who,
to interrupt you. I want you to remember these
you
moments.
know?
You know what I'm thinking of is the Lion King, where when does he go? Remember who you are. You know, do you remember that scene? Or am I too old and nobody else knows Lion King
I don't
but
know
me?
if I remember that one.
Oh.
I love that movie because, you know, but I'm in a Disney, but I don't
Yeah.
remember that.
It says to him,
But
remember who you are.
so
So
that's what I'm trying
remember
to
who you
figure
are.
out. Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Is it just in certain situations that I've practiced? Is it like, is it me, or is it because it doesn't affect me because he's going to go away and I'm never going to see him again? Whereas, you know, if
This
I
is you.
buy
This
a
goes
house
back to
and
the same little spiel I gave Yasmin and the spiel that I gave myself.
huh?
In some ways, I wonder what happens. I mean, it's sort of interesting, but we don't have time to get totally philosophical with it. But like we start off maybe more, even though I would think we become more authentic, but the elements of who you are there early. And then somehow life can, if you're not careful, it can
Mm,
beat them out of you. I mean, basically, it can, or you become numb, or you become, I don't know what, or you forget. You need to remember who you are. But Elizabeth, the stories you're telling me, and from knowing you, you are a strong person. And maybe that's
yeah.
another value. I want you to journal about all of those moments that you're proud of because they are who you are. And that type of stuff does not go away. That's like in your freaking DNA. That's who you are. And I want you to own it with core values that help you. And then I do believe in my I am, so I do statements, but as Faith has shared, you know, you could just like think them and you're don't
Mm.
even realize you're creating them, but they will create cognitive dissonance in you because you want to own that. You want to, I
So,
own,
well,
I'm
I
going
know
to,
I'm strong, but I do own strong, but I'm usually strong when things hurt. You know what I mean? I can survive
okay,
issues.
but then
It's
I
like
want you to
strong.
take the
It's like
strong when things don't hurt. I want you to
that's what
let
I'm
it
saying.
ripple in.
How can I do that? That's the question. How do I
Well,
translate it
you
to
take the core value and you add it to something you want to do. Like, and in fact, the example that I gave, and I keep going back to it because sometimes it's handy to have one that's just I've already shared, was I was discerning about the thickness of the paper and the font on my books and what I wear when I'm not at home alone in my apartment, when I go out. But I wasn't discerning about food. So it's kind of the same as you, Elizabeth. And then when I told myself I am discerning, which I knew was important to me, but I wasn't being it in this one area, I'm discerning. And so I eat, you know, I forgot how I wrote it, healthier food. And then it helped to rejigger me to think about that. So I want you to go, I am strong. And so I do X, Y, or Z and figure out what those things are. But what I'm going to do is we've run out of the thingy thing here. I'm going to go back to this with you, and I want you to also share in your group some of the ways you're looking at. I want you to think, you know, our core value for the week is authentic, but I want you to kind of think about strong also, because that one seemed to really get you feeling excited. And I want you to think about that it's not just during bad times, but for the good things, you're strong too. Okay?
that's yeah, right. That's the hard part. But it's also
Yeah.
like the BA person mentioned of like,
Oh,
yeah, like with business stuff, you know, like
yeah,
same thing,
I
like
have
the
more
playing
slides.
small and all of
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
I
And
think some
not
of the tools
building.
I'm sharing will help too. So,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna, and I hate to interrupt, but I'm looking at the time, but it's already almost noon. So, which is great. I'm loving this. I'm loving this. Okay, Chris, you're next. What came up for you when you looked at the life audit questions and core values and all of that, and in general, how you feeling?
Hi. Can you
Hi.
hear me and see me?
Yes.
Okay. Um, so in all transparency, I didn't look that deeply at them, even though I printed them out and carried them around with me all week long.
That's okay.
Um,
That's
and
okay.
as I've been kind of listening and reflecting, um, the and I think the kind of my focus is just to be, that I said last week, was to be more intentional. And while in many ways I think I'm doing that, I can also see in many that like maybe I could be more intentional. Like when I heard you talk about being discerning, but you realized there were certain parts of your life you weren't being discerning, that I'm like, that kind of hit where I'm like, yeah, like
Uh,
embarrassingly. Uh, and I'm also in a place of debating if I want to hire some VA help, which in all reality, I know I probably need to, but I also know like I'm not even sure what questions to ask, what to pass on. Um, in a bit of a transition as my assistant, who I've had in person full time in the past, then she went part time whenever my group practice went back to just me. She went to work somewhere else, but stayed with me part time over the years. She's going to be finishing
uh-huh.
her work with me. And I also realize how just that relationship, which has been very positive, but it's also kind of kept me in a place of, oh, I don't have to do, or like I can just float and be okay. But I realize that my creative interest, I'm
Uh-huh.
not really taking them as seriously in the action piece.
Hmm.
So I've
Then
worked.
maybe we want you to own creativity and some other ones. Like, think about what comes up for you. And also, that's where this whole mortality awareness thing comes in. It puts the fire under you, like right now you're thinking from what's coming up to me. And I don't know if I'm right or not, but this is what's coming up for me, is some of how you're describing it as that you feel like you have time to figure it out, which you do. I don't want to like act like I'm death himself there with the, you have time. But when you really think about life and, really own our ages,
Yeah.
mine, so I don't want to just put it on you. It might help to motivate you a little bit. And so that's why I'm a fan of mortality awareness, because it makes you aware, like, am I living my life how I want? And owning your core values like that. So I want you to think about those, but also next week's main core value is authenticity. But think about some of the ones that come up for you when you look at these questions. Um,
Will
so
do.
and
Thank you.
next, Bonnie. Bonnie, I'd love for you to share. I see you there. I see camera off and microphone off.
No, here I am. I'm having puppy problems this
Oh,
morning.
okay.
So I keep having to jump up. Hang on, I'll start my video there.
Okay.
Um, I think I am. Apparently I'm not, but you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay. There we go. Okay. Hi everybody.
Hi.
My 7-month-old puppy had a war with our cat and tore up it doesn't
Oh,
matter. Anyway, I had a
oh,
mess behind me. Um, okay, so for me, I think that I looked at my major problem is I waste a lot of time, and a lot of it has to do with clutter. And the reason that I have a lot of clutter, I think, is because I took care of a lot of people that I loved desperately. My dad, my mom, my aunt, who lived to be 102. My parents were, 90s. And then I got my brother's granddaughter. She was orphaned. And so I got her in high school, and it was not an easy time for somebody who doesn't have kids to get kind of grumpy teenager. And so I collected all these things. I collected from my Aunt Mary's house things that only child she had passed away. So she wanted me to have her china and her furniture. And same thing with, my parents. There were a lot of meaningful things. There's the cat. Um, and so my house is full of stuff because I never want to forget these people, right? I want to remember them. I want tokens to remember them by. And now I'm not working. I have plenty of time to call things, and I can't. And I feel like, the thing I was really good at my job. I was, it's hard to compliment yourself. It feels bad to do as women a lot of times. But I was good. I was formidable in my job, and I was kind and dedicated. And so now I don't have that. I don't have these people to take care of. My brother's granddaughter is still here. She'll be 26. I would like her to leave the nest, but she has a heart-lung problem. So, she's fluttering instead of flying. So my core values was always caretaking, and I don't really want to do it anymore. I want to work on me.
You know what? That's interesting what you just said, that we can have, and it's a little bit like Debbie, where nice becomes people pleasing, but then she's not nice to herself. And caretaking should be caretaking to you. Like the way I had her go, nice to myself, caretaking for me could be like your core value. Or also like taking something like, is it right now? I mean, there's some emergency zones of being caretaking, which you have to step up and I guess actually be extreme in when it's an urgent matter like that, of course, and you're a beautiful person and they're lucky. But then maybe that's not as important during this next time of your life. Or what's coming up for you when I tell you that?
Yeah, no, I agree. The other thing, routines came up a couple of times just now, and right, my routines are all gone. And there were a lot, from the sunrise until well past, time to go to bed. There were just things to do constantly, and now there aren't. And so anyway, wasting time and just being cluttered and not moving on from all of the death that happened. That's the thing. So I would like to, as far as core values, I would like growth and purpose. I think those are the two that I need to engage in more. And part of that is just going to have to find new routines.
Yes.
So I'm not sure if that's exactly what you were looking for, but that's where I'm at.
It is. And I think that that's going to come up more when we talk about, I have a whole section on rejiggering your life, that's really about specific ways to find new things to do of meaning and purpose. And I think that lesson in particular is going to be really helpful for you. So I can't wait to share that with you.
Okay.
Okay. So now it's noon, but I'm happy to stay because that's what we're doing here. And we're figuring this out as we go together. So join me as we consider how these habits that the time wasters could be in life drains, happiness leaks, and life wasters. All right. So I want you to categorize these. And first, I'm going to give you a general summary of what these are. And then I do have some tips here that are more general for everybody and not as specific to each of you. So what I want you to do is I want you to start realizing that these are crap and clutter habits, vilify them. The more you realize this, I mean, just even bringing them into your consciousness is going to make you see how they're getting in the way of a meaningful life. And that's going to help you to have a little more motivation and willpower to get rid of them, just even vilifying them like that. So these are your time demons, and it's time to send them back to wherever time demons come from. So the first one I call life drains. And I want you to, even as you go around like next week, even thinking about, oh yeah, that's a life drain. Oh, that's a life drain. Like vilify it life like that. So you're not like, sugarcoating it. These are the people, habits, or tasks that suck the life out of you like energy vampires, like that friend who dumps the problems on you and then says, anyway, got to run, or your compulsion to check work emails at 2 a.m. instead of sleeping like a normal person. How to handle, you got to shut down these energy suckers before they get their fangs into you. Maybe tell your cousin you're not available for the latest drama, or speak up to the friend who only texts when they need something. Keep the phone or laptop out of the bedroom or in a drawer after 8 p.m. And also just call it what it is. Just say to yourself, life drain. When you call it that, you're vilifying it. Will help you to resist it more. Like, oh, this is just like a little habit that I do. No, life drain. Next are happiness leaks. These are the easiest to spot because they're so dumb, it's almost impressive. Like spending 45 minutes reading about ancient Roman sewer systems. Like I would do that. Like if I find something, I'm like, I take something good and you can turn it into something bad, like, oh, I'm a lifelong learner. But then I abuse that core value by doing it to the extreme. So I think that's coming up today. I'm realizing that we can take the core values and bring them into the extreme zone. And then those become happiness leaks. Or hanging out in the kitchen snacking, thinking just one more chip while your responsibilities collect dust. You've been drained by happiness leak when you find yourself wondering, why do I feel so unsatisfied all the time? How to handle, patch those leaks, catch yourself mid-scroll and replace the habit with something that makes you feel good. Plan your own vacation instead of drooling over somebody else's. Read a book, take a walk, do a habit from your to-die list. So, and just call them happiness leaks. See it for what it is. The last one is life wasters. These are the big soul-sucking liabilities, the job you hate but you stay in, the relationship that feels like Stockholm syndrome. These aren't just little leaks. These are black holes swallowing your best years. How to handle? Start cutting the dead weight. If a job feels like a prison sentence, make plans to escape. If certain people continually drain your energy, limit your time with them. Embrace the discomfort of change. Ask yourself, what's worse, the temporary pain of making a tough decision or the long-term regret of staying stuck? Like we talked about Bronnie Ware's 5 regrets of the dying. Now, some of our time wasters are tougher to remove than others. Sometimes your time demons get so knotted into your routine that trying to extract them is like untangling a plate of spaghetti. So no worries, I'm about to equip you with a full arsenal of power tools specifically tailored to exterminate those tough to remove time wasters. So the first one is very memorable. It's called the Mortality Awareness Monthly Marble Jar. Okay. So what I want you to do is fill a big glass jar with a bunch of marbles, and each marble is going to represent 1 month out of the estimated time you have left to live. If you're 50 years old, then I want you to optimistically shoot for living to 100. That leaves you with 600 months. So purchase 600 marbles. And when you start to think of your life like this, it really does kind of shake you awake. If you're 30 and equally hopeful to live to 100, you're looking at 840 months to go. So purchase 840 marbles, or simply do the math for whatever age you are. Whatever your age, you're going to need a big jar for this. If you're a 600 marble person, get a jar around 32 fluid ounces, 840 marbles, 42 fluid ounces. Based on those numbers, estimate the size for whatever age you are. By the way, I asked ChatGPT to estimate the size. So if you want to just go to Ask ChatGPT this weird question, it will give you your unique answer. And then each month, I want you to take out 1 marble out of the jar. And then as the months go by, watch as the marbles gradually disappear. Now, you can also do the same system by simply counting the months you have left. And I wrote an article about this in Medium. I only have 36 Februaries left to live. And so if you don't want to go through the whole rigmarole of the marbles, like I only have 36 Marches left to live. So I'm going to want to use this March particularly well. When you start thinking of it like that, it shakes you awake. But if you use the marble jar, it's very, very visual. You're going to literally see your months slipping away, decreasing 1 marble at a time. And let me tell you, nothing makes you reconsider your life choices quite like watching your allotted marbles disappear. But this marble jar isn't just meant to be a reminder that time is passing, it's also meant to be a catalyst for action. So I want you to make removing each marble a ritual. Maybe do it over a glass of wine on the first evening of every month, or over a coffee during the first morning of a new month. As you remove each marble, think about how you spent the past month. Take time to ask yourself, was this month well spent? Did you waste it on the crap and clutter? Or did you invest your time in things that enrich your life? The jar of marbles will be a powerful wake-up call. It will poke you in the ribs, gently or not so gently, every time you remove a marble, because you'll begin to realize just how much every action or inaction truly counts. Okay. The next one is a little less morbid. Although I think the marbles, if you find beautiful marbles, could be a beautiful thing. I shouldn't even mock it. It's going to really wake you up. And if you don't want to go full in marble, I'm telling you, numbering your months is extremely awakening, let me tell you. Next up is the Eisenhower Matrix. This is a simple yet brilliant tool for decision making. It's named after President Dwight D. Eisenhower, and the story goes like this. He developed this tool to help him manage his time during World War II, because, you know, a wrong decision in wartime can be a big mistake, big disaster. So the next time you're swamped with too many tasks on your agenda, I want you to pull out the Eisenhower Matrix, which I'm about to show you, and it works like clearing the fog off your glasses. Suddenly you'll see what you need to do, delegate, delay, or dump. So this is the Eisenhower Matrix, and you have it urgent, important, not urgent, important, urgent, not important. You'll see how it works. I'm about to go through it, but this is kind of how it looks. So the first category is urgent and important. Do it like your hair's on fire. These are your must-do now fire alarm tasks. Crises, last-minute deadlines, health scares. These bad boys need your attention like yesterday. Deal with them first or you're toast. So in some ways, Bonnie, like when you're in a caretaking situation with a sick loved one, it becomes urgent and important. So it does move into that category. And then I can see as those start to become not as there anymore, then you have to figure out, and those gave you purpose and meaning in a very huge way. So now you're craving that purpose and meaning again. For as much as it was hard and sad and, you know, all of that, it also gave purpose and meaning. And so you need something with that same zhuzh behind it. The next is quadrant 2, not urgent, but important. This is what I call the art of slow cooking. This quadrant includes tasks that are super important, but don't have screaming deadlines. Like these are the things that make your life meaningful. Like learning Italian, writing that novel, scheduling that yearly checkup, because your core value is health. So you don't end up in quadrant 1 later. This is also where your to-die list lives. You need to schedule these tasks, then do them slowly over time. They're the pot roast of productivity, low heat, long cook, incredible results. The next one is urgent, but not important. The tasks in this box need to get done now, but they don't need your personal touch. These are chores you can outsource. Delegate, as we've been talking about today. Paying bills, set up auto pay, grocery shopping, delivery exists. Think of it this way. Every time you're wasting energy on quadrant 3 crap, you're stealing time from something that actually matters, like being with your family or I don't know, enjoying your life. So delegate it, outsource it, pass it off, save yourself the hassle. Delegate like a boss, which is, or delegate like a CEO, which was some of the words that I was talking to Debbie about. Eisenhower Matrix, quadrant 4, neither urgent nor important. This is pretty much the drunk drawer of tasks. These are the activities you do in autopilot mode that don't really make your life any better. Scrolling through social media, stressing about things you can't control, browsing online shopping sites. This quadrant is a coffin where your time vampires hang out, suck up your time, and give nothing back. You must drag them into the light and let them turn to dust. So again, if I'm going to kind of ad-lib here from our talk today, what I'm thinking is, these can be okay in moderation. I guess one of the lessons here we're learning is moderation does matter, because a little bit of like social media is okay, but it's anything that's in an extreme suddenly becomes a bad thing. A little bit of online shopping, it's okay. Okay, so I gotta say, I love using the Eisenhower matrix. It helps me to better curate my life. And speaking of life curation, this brings me to the next time management tool. Envision yourself as the curator of your life. Now, as you probably know, art curators are very discerning at what they choose to hang in their gallery. So I want you to think of yourself as a discerning curator of your life. But instead of paintings, you're choosing experiences, relationships, jobs, habits, hobbies, basically all the things that take up space in your limited, finite life. It's a tough job. You can't choose everything, or your life gallery become a garage sale of the mediocre. Plus, you have limited resources with only a certain amount of time, energy, and attention in your budget. You must spend your budget only on things that inspire or enhance, things that say, this is beautiful, this is important, it is worth the time and space it takes up. As a skilled curator, regret becomes less of a threat because you choose very consciously. And so there are fewer, what was I thinking moments, and more, I remember why I chose this moments. So I want you to own this identity as a discerning curator of your life. And so I created this handy dandy I am and so I do statement for you to put on your to-do list. I am a discerning curator of my life, and so I am choosier about who and what I spend my precious time on. So this is how you could use a core value as an I am and so I do statement. I write it down somewhere, post it somewhere. This is not one you put in your calendar because it's a general feeling for your life. I want you to own this identity as a discerning curator. Oh, I said it twice. I guess I really believe that one. Oh, wait, my computer is almost out of battery. 1 second. But I'm not. I got lots of coffee in me, ready to keep going. Tool number 4, shrink negativity into nuggetivity. Okay, I'm wrapping up this list with one of my favorite time-saving tips. Every day when I wake up, I decide not to kick myself about past mistakes, whine about resentments, make lists in my head of all my regrets. Well, unless you're doing that for an assignment here. Count up all the people who let me down. Continue to count on people who fill me with anxiety. Ever since I started enforcing these rules, I've magically found more hours in my day. Hours I can spend doing more of what I love with the people I love. Plus, I'm happier while I'm doing. So how do I accomplish this negativity shrinking goal? Whenever I'm feeling particularly curmudgeonly, I use a mindfulness tool I call the stop and swap. I call it this because when you're cranky, it's tough to simply halt negative thoughts in their tracks. Instead, you need to also swap in some positively reframed thoughts to replace the negative ones. Here's the logic of it. Let's say you want to stop a puppy from chewing on your sneaker. You need to give the puppy something else to chew on, maybe a bone. After all, the puppy has this urge to chew on something. If you do not give the puppy something new to chew on, it will keep chewing the sneaker. When you're upset, your anxious brain has the urge to chew on something. If you simply only try to stop the negative thought and don't also give your mind something new to chew on, your mind will keep going back to chewing on your negative thoughts. How to do a stop and swap. Write down your negative thoughts or mentally get clear on them, then brainstorm some positively reframed thoughts to serve as replacements. When a gloomy thought shows up, stop it by swapping in your newly reframed positive thought. Examples. Stop thinking, people don't like me. Swap in the reframe, the right people appreciate me. Stop thinking, I'm not reaching goals fast enough. You like my little voice? I'm giving you a little theater here. Swap in the reframe. Everything has its process. I'm right on time. Stop thinking everything is going wrong. I've run out of voices to use here. Swap in the reframe. I focus 20% on the problem, 80% on the solutions. That last one I use a whole lot, let me tell you. Let me see. Oh, I'm going to look. Oh, Deborah says, I'm right on time. Love this. Yeah. So these are some examples, and you could kind of makeshift your own, tailor them to whatever your negative thought zone is. This technique works because it's like being the DJ of your mental playlist. If a negative thinking track starts playing, simply hit that mental reshuffle button, stop it, and swap it for a thought track that boosts your mood. I encourage you to test out these tools and take command of your time, because how you spend your time is essentially how you spend your life. And you don't want your epitaph to read, "Here lies Susie, who spent an inordinate amount of time watching cat videos." So if a negative thinking track starts playing, simply hit that mental reshuffle button, stop it, and swap it for a thought track that boosts your mood. Okay, so next week, we're going to discuss how to manage and process the death of a loved one in your life. They didn't just leave behind poignant memories and weird old furniture. They left behind life lessons, blueprints for how to live your life at your best. The legacy you want to leave behind. They remind you of the legacy that you want to leave behind. So stick around. I'm going to get personal. I'm going to share what losing my dad taught me about life. And I'm going to share about how you want to start thinking about your legacy creation, what you want to leave behind. Plus, as I mentioned earlier, your core value for this week is authenticity. I want you to think about this one as you go through your week. I want you to explore where and when you need to be more authentically you in your life and create "I am and so I do" statements around these areas. Thinking the core value is good. That alone will create cognitive dissonance and motivate you. But if you have something that's particularly hard, an area that's hard in particular to be authentic in, then do write out an actual "I am and so I do" statement. And here's why I value the core value of authenticity. If you want to dodge regrets, you must live authentically. That means peeling off those unfulfilling layers of family guilt trips and societal expectations. You must own your quirks. Embrace your all and out weirdness. Step out into the world, not just as who you are, but as who you're meant to become. What lights you up? What pumps your heart full of joy? What do you believe in so fiercely that you'd shout it from the rooftops, even if the whole block was telling you to zip it? To be authentically you, you must put in the effort to know thyself. We're also going to be talking about that more later on, to know yourself, because a couple of you also said something earlier about not knowing what you want to fill in the rest of your life or where you are now. So that's also coming up, but not next week. Next week, we're going to be talking more about how to manage the grief that comes up when someone you love dies, how you look at what their legacy is and what you want your legacy to be. That's the emphasis for next week. See you soon. So that's it. Do you have any last minute questions before we go? Or things that you want to share? If not, it's fine because it's already almost 12:30. But
Thank you so much.
okay, great. Thank you guys. This is all interesting to me to hear how this is resonating with you. So thank you so much. I'm going to put this video in the back end, and I'm going to start a new school conversation around the core value of authenticity. And feel
I have a
free to-
question.
Oh, yes, Yasmin. Yes.
So if I wanted to invite someone, do I just share the Zoom link for next time? Or how does
That's a
that
good question.
work?
And I see PJ arrived later, and everybody here who did not hear me say this. I'm cool with you inviting new people into this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send out an email as quickly as I can and I will give you the sign up link. And then what they do is they'll put their email in there, and then I'll invite them to come. So how about that? And I'll explain this more clearly in an email. And maybe I'll even put it up on School too, just so you know. But definitely, there's still many more sessions left for somebody to join in and catch up quickly, and they can watch the videos as well. So thank you for asking that. Thanks. Okay, everybody. I'm
Thank
wishing you
you.
Thank you,
a
Karen.
wonderful
So
week.
Have a good week, everybody.
Bye.
Too.
Karen,
Bye,
thank you so
everyone.
much.